Good afternoon, good evening, good everything. This is Reginal Drummer, the peopleologist, and welcome to another episode of We Are Ready, where we focus on being ready at all times. We got to stay ready. That way we don't have to get ready. If we stay ready, we don't have to get ready. Uh, Tonight, I hope that you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification button over here at Square Mile Media Atlanta for everybody that's joining us on Facebook or Instagram or any of those platforms. Please share and be ready to comment. Tonight's topic, pretty interesting. When we first thought about this topic, I had a lot of questions and been talking to a lot of people over the last couple of months, just interviewing and talking. People said, man, look like Black people have a problem with people just not giving them an opportunity to express themselves. So our topic tonight is why? Why do people put a lot of emphasis on trying to control the actions and efforts of Black people? A lot of times, no matter where you are, you find out that somebody's trying to control what we do. And people in general, somebody's always trying to figure out what it is that we're doing, why we're doing it, and how they can control our actions and efforts. And it's not just here in America, but I'm going to focus here in America. It's all around the world. When you look at what's up, Nancy, Miss Nancy Armstrong, what's up, Philip? But no matter where you are, you have to look and say, well, why is it that somebody's always trying to figure out how to control what we do and how we do it? And this has been a problem in America since the end of the Civil War. People say, well, what are we going to do with our captured and now freed Black Americans? Because somebody's got to oversee them. Somebody's got to make sure they do the right thing. Somebody's got to always keep them in check. And this goes fast forward even to today. Recently, two Black state representatives in Tennessee were put in check just because they had a different view than the white power structure. And it happened in Georgia before, back in 1968, and a couple other years, but specifically in 68, when Julian Bond spoke out against the Vietnam War. They put him in check, took his job, took his position, which was an elected position. And we say to ourselves, why are there separate rules for Black people and the so-called ruling class here in America, white people? That's got to be a question that's on our mind. If you're at your job, there's just so much of a position that you could get before somebody wants to check you and say, well, Reggie, can you tone it down a little bit? Can you wear your hair? We don't like the braids. And can you trim your facial hair? And that bald head, we don't like that. So, and can you wear a shirt with a collar on it? Because we just don't feel comfortable with you like this. And this is the position that most Black people are in. If you got a job, it's just so far you can go before somebody starts to put you in position of check. I got to check you because, even though you work for the company, I feel as an other person that you work for me. But I got some special guests that I'll be bringing in tonight. I got to see if they join us. Brother Nate, how you doing, my brother?
Doing great. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing well. Well, I couldn't have picked another person that's a free thinker and a free man in this country we call the United States of America to speak on this subject matter. Because, no matter where you go, a lot of times as Black people, we feel that somebody's overseeing us. If we go into a store, somebody's watching us. If whatever we do, somebody's making commentary about how to keep us in check. But I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself. And I know you are a host of Exposed, so this is not a new topic for you. You constantly in the battlefield doing this type of work. So how you doing tonight, my brother?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm feeling great. I appreciate you having me on. And I think you have a powerful topic tonight as relates to the control of, well, Black people. And
Yes, yes. Because you know what? Sometimes it's like we pets. They say, well, you know what, Reggie, you're okay as long as you do it this way. And everything's okay as long as it doesn't frustrate me or irritate me. And, from everything we do, our religion, they'll tell us, well, as long as you believe this way, you're okay. But if you go against what I'm thinking and what I believe, it's not right. But anyway, that's my thoughts.
well, you're right. I think that comes from the low expectation, the low expectations that have been set upon Black people from the onset of bringing us to this country. Even though it's contrary to what they really know, they know that we are gifted, talented, bright, and possess attributes that are pretty much that will make us appear to be superhuman.
Mm.
I mean, you think about the physicality, and then not only the physicality, but the mental stamina. We're strong people. We are soulful. We are dynamic. And in today's times, they do put billions of dollars of propaganda on us daily. The news media cycles, of course, the incarcerations. We basically build the judicial system as relates to incarcerations, legal representation, fines, whatever you can think of. But then, as relates to education, we're supposed to be the dumbest fools on the planet. But yet, if we are people who were not afforded education 400 years ago during slavery, and that we were caught with a letter or any type of writing utensil in our hand, we were maimed, killed, or lynched. But here we are in 2023, professors, educators, and those type of things. Well, who's the dummy? You can't say that people have come so far and all of a sudden the future generation, the children, refuse to learn. So these systemic processes are in place to control us. But they know, just like Andrew Johnson knew, that if we were to be on our own, there'd be no stopping us, because we helped create one of the largest aristocracies in the South before the Civil War. That was us. They used us for free labor. Of course, we weren't paid for it. So when we were given that 40 acres and a mule through field order special field order 15, we had 40 acres and a mule. So imagine if we had not been, what can I say, disrupted by the United States government under Johnson to repeal that order, where we would be today.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you talk about the disruption. Like I said, one of America's biggest problems since the Civil War is what to do with the so-called black man here and black man and woman here in America. And even when they said, well, you get a good education, you can come up. You get a good job, you can come up. They tell us that you can have mom, apple pie, and Chevrolet. But when we get all those things, there are people that still feel as though black people should not have everything else, the fruits of life, the pursuit of happiness. And it's all across the globe. I've had so many people that say, well, drummer is just not here in America. It's all across the globe. It's in Africa. They'll tell our brothers and sisters that, excuse me, you can dig and mine the gold, the copper, the silver, the plutonium, but you can't use it for your own personal use and make money off of it. Because we've established through taking over your country, that we're going to be the ones that use that for our profit and our best interest. So we look at what's happening today. I think there's a backlash across the whole globe. People are finally coming together across the globe. And in particular, I love America, but in particular, America, they said, we don't want your money. We tired of your influence. We don't want your religion. We don't want that monkey on our back trying to make us into a puppet and have us doing what you want us to do. Even here in America, our young people and many of our people that have come through civil rights and just the whole freedom mindset are saying, hey, enough is enough. Recently, because of the propaganda machine that's been used to put people in a mindset that they need to check Black folk, we've had shootings where Black folk have been shot, killed, maimed, whether by the police or by people that made themselves the police. They say, you know what? I don't even see them as being deserving of the same rights that I have. And that's one of the things that that troubles me most, because everybody will tell you, they'll say, well, Drummer, this is the best of y'all ever been. We'll say, yeah, but there's still people that don't believe that we should have the right to be free. I always think about, I think that was Sojourner Truth back in the day when she was talking about women's rights and engaging herself in women's rights, voters' rights, and suffragists, that they excluded her from the meeting. Right. She's on the coin, Susan B. Anthony, all them, they said, well, you can't come in. And she wrote this thing, I am a woman. Ain't I a woman too? Ain't I a woman too, just like you? So as Black people, we're saying we just like you. We want the same things. We just don't want to be trapped into a situation where we're pigeonholed. And when we do reach some success, you put all these hurdles around us. And then when we break those hurdles, you still try to find a way to control our actions, our efforts, and our movement.
Well, Reginald, I'll say this. Let's break that down. It's a magical process that they have created that seems like it's hard to break, because there are different factions of Black people that have been created in this country. Okay. So just say, okay, you and I, we can go and say, hey, look, let's get rid of the propaganda. Let's showcase what the true element of Blackness is and what it represents, which is greatness, brilliance, and all these type of things, right? But then they'll depict another group of Black people looting and shooting, okay, who may not have as much education, okay? So you have that faction. Then you have another faction that's supposed to be academic-minded, who feel like they don't need to care about showing us in a better light. You pick yourself up by your bootstraps, you move forward. So they've got us running in circles. So when you're people running in circles and you become the strongest voice, then they pick up the weakest voice to shut you down.
Wow.
So they're picking up these weak voices who don't represent the best in us. So then we're scratching our heads like, well, dog, maybe we need to put that fire out over there in our community. Maybe we knew, but nah, the way that things are created, those ignorant forces are going to be there because they were indoctrinated. Some not educated, some are overeducated and feel like, hey, I don't owe nothing to being what's considered a Black person. So when they have that type of mindset, it contributes to being owned. These people bug dance for a shiny penny and 2 biscuits and a syrup bucket. So, forget the chicken. They get the chicken. That's the soul.
And not to belittle the facts, but one of the things I'm trying to think of the brother. He said, until you understand white supremacy, well, nothing else makes sense. Until you understand white supremacy, won't nothing make sense. And sometimes we find ourselves, what's up there, Miss Rosa Harris out of Albany, Georgia? Well, I got a lot of folks checking in over here, y'all. But if you can get in that chat over here and put some comments or things in there, we're talking about how people believe that they got the right to chastise or control the actions and efforts of Black people. But one of the things, I had a lady call me today. She said, Drummer, I've been on my job for 10 years. She said, I came out of high school and went to college, and I got a good job. You know, she got a bachelor's degree. And when she was up for promotion, the lady that got the promotion was a lady that dropped out of high school. And she just happened to be a Caucasian woman. And she said, well, you know, the first time they did something like that to me, I just said, you know what, maybe she was related to the boss or somebody like that. But this Black woman had got her secondary education, and she was looked upon as though she was just a little bit lower than the white woman that had dropped out of school in the 10th grade. So a lot of times our people, they say, get the education. They say, stay clean, don't have a prison record. All the things that we do to put ourselves in position so that we could be a better person, a better citizen, a better participant in this economy. There's still blocks that are built in to suppress us, whether it's dealing with housing. You know, there are banks that have charged us more money just to get a house, more money just to get a car. And these are built-in mechanisms to suppress the forward movement of Black and brown people. And I know sometimes people come from other countries, they say, Drummer, I just can't understand why Black folk can't get it. They've been taught and hoodwinked and bamboozled to believe that, hey, we got a fair system over here. They just can't get with it. You know, they never let them know the truth. And now we're starting to figure out the truth.
But you know, Reggie, I'll say this to those people who say we can't, hey, they never had the sharecrop in this country. They didn't come out of slavery, okay, to be supposedly freed and afforded all the freedoms of the country, land, mules, and food, and then to have that taken back, okay, which is devastating. They didn't have their cities burnt down.
Oh,
yeah, they didn't have.
They moved the goalposts. You're right. They moved the goalposts.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they need to shut the hell up and understand. And then they're the very people who come in and add to their oppression. So, you know, ignorance of any type supports white supremacy, especially when it's on the Black people. Ignorance, lack of education, fear, and silence. That's what supports it. A lot of people think, well, if you say something, it's already there.
Oh yeah.
At least call the boogeyman out. They want the boogeyman to sleep so they feel like, okay, everything's fine. When the boogeyman's not just beside you or behind you, it's right in front of you. And when you think you have that level of success, you get your butt. I like to see it, destroy it, and keep things moving for the future generations. And we have to have some backbone. I mean, the only way you can be owned is when you have no backbone. Ooh. When you have backbone, I tell you like this, that ownership label, they know, okay, it can't be owned, but you become a force to be reckoned with, and you work things out to benefit your community, to benefit what's going on in your community.
You can't be bought and you can't be bossed. One of the things, and even in our groups and our organizations, it could be our educational system, it could be our religious systems, it can be our economic systems, even our organizations. Many of our groups and organizations, their interest might have been in at first for the forward movement of Black people. But when other people come in, they change the whole game. I was recently with a group that was talking about reparations, and what happened, I sat in a meeting, and when they were talking about reparation, there was a guy that came from the outside, and he had been there for a minute. He was a donor. So instead of talking about reparations for Black people, guess what they were talking about?
What's that?
They changed the subject. They started talking about making sure that we get some money in so we can help the people in the Ukraine.
Ah,
You can't make this up. I mean, and then guess what? Because I was new to it, so I wasn't making a lot of noise. The Black folk that was there started clapping. They forgot about their issue and started thinking about what should we do to those people, for those people in Ukraine. Not putting those people in the Ukraine down, but I think that our issues are more important. And a lot of times when you look at Black issues, even when you look at some of the things that have happened, many times if I plug into groups and organizations, a lot of those groups and organizations are being milked down to focus on other things. They say, well, you know what? I know you guys want to get this and that, but you got a good education system. You got freedom of this and freedom of that. Why don't you join with these other people and try to help them? And so many people that come into our groups or organizations, I'm not going to call our letter group names out, but they have been infiltrated by, I would say, good-meaning white people, but they changed the agenda. They shifted the agenda from forward movement of Black people to the forward movement of everybody.
yeah, I just say this on that, Reggie. Can't win like that. You know, it goes back to that clown we had as the first Black president. Well,
Okay.
He's got to be the president for everybody. Okay, well, everything's not level. So if you're the president for everybody, which I can understand, but you have to understand there should be a pecking order of who you need to elevate as it relates to equity. You know, damn equality. Let's get some equity in here so Black people can come up. But, you know, our power stood. Remember, Sundays used to be a powerful day in the Black community because suits were being worn.
Oh, yeah.
White
we went
dresses.
to church. We went to church.
Yeah, we went to, but the thing is, not only, but that was the moral compass of the community.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were going to church, you knew that you were connected to something bigger because the church wasn't going to roll over for everything. It was going to be the voice and the force for the people at that time, because the preacher had a regular job just like everybody else. His family was going through things that they were experiencing. But now we're in the day of all the dude does is preach on Sundays and receives a salary, and then they want to do a couple of things, donate $600,000 to this and that, but yet not really impacting the community. Your parishioners are losing their homes, the rent, the mortgages are going up, but you still talk the same old shit on Sundays again and again, and then getting your check, going to your big house, but your people are suffering. So that was one of the major infrastructures, in my opinion, that was infiltrated and destroyed through the government when they made the 501c3s, nonprofits.
Okay.
They have no voice. And a big example of that here in Atlanta is this Black clergy group, Concerned Black Clergy Group. Yeah, I can call the doggone names out. They roll over for anything that's against moving Black people forward. But they pretend like they're for Black people.
Well,
you know, when Beverly Hall was about to be indicted, well, they called her out for the cheating scandal. They stood up in a group saying that there was no cheater, and I knew that they need to sit the hell down. You know, we fast forward, we see what the courts found. But did they come out and say, hey, she was falsely prosecuted? What about the big business, the Blue Ribbon Commission? So, and then it goes along with a lot of these other politicians who misrepresent us So by the time, Reggie, you and I get to the table to really clean things up, they've done a hell of a job putting us in a box that's hell to get out of.
Ooh, yes. Well, you just said we are, even in modern day, we're getting public whippings. Okay, we see a lot of our politicians. You can call them our groups, our organizations, our religious leaders. All of them getting whooped in public.
Right.
Our entertainers, when they make a comment about a group or organization, they're not allowed to do it. The revolution would not be incorporated. You right, my sisters. They say speak the truth there, Nate. But there's a book, and we've been looking at that book, Powernomics, by Dr. Claude Anderson. And in that book, he talks exclusively about maybe 6 areas that we have to focus on. And when we focus first on us, in that area, when we look at economics, Black economics, how economics empower us. We have to look at also the Black family, the nucleus of the Black family, how to maintain the Black family. What's good for the Black family? We have to look at our communities. We have to look at what needs to be in our community. We have to control the action, the efforts, and everything that comes into our community. We are the only community that allows so many other people to come in and do whatever. And when we engage in politics, we have to control the actions and efforts of our politicians. And we have to, and this comes straight out of the Nation of Islam, we have to grow our own food to maintain our health. You cannot break the rules of the oppressor if you can't, you're not strong enough to eat and provide medical care for your people. And our educational system has to be reevaluated and looked at. Even our HBCUs that started out as educational platforms for Black people, now they are watered down. And then we have to look at our God, our religious communities. Back in the day, when we was out in the cotton field, our God, before we got into a building, was up in the sky, the heavens, but it wasn't something that was inside a building trapped and just came out on Sundays. And until we control, man, those 6, 7 areas, we'll be at the mercy of whoever comes up.
Well, I hear all of those points, but I think sometimes would it be said, is it to be said that we take ourselves a bit too seriously sometimes? What I mean is, when we're happy within ourselves, why don't we dance anymore? Why don't we sing together like we?
They took that away. They told us to stop dancing.
Did they take it away, or we?
They took it away.
But we are the best dancers, the greatest singers. Even when we were in the fields, we could sing some of the most powerful songs. When it was time to dance, we danced. It was a spirit, it was a soulfulness that connected us without a whole lot of words. And with that, we were able to forge through anything. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, that was a weapon. We communicated to our Most High, our God, through ourselves, even when we didn't speak the same language. Spiritually, we were connected. Once they found out that we were using that as a power, they started to manipulate that to control us, to control our actions and efforts. So anything that we excelled in, they would use that to our disadvantage. And unfortunately, they could use our own people to do it. They can give them a butter biscuit, a pat on the back, a rub on the forehead, a promotion, put them in the big house, give them a trinket, or, and they will be happy. But, we have to start look at being our brother's keeper. They took us from the brotherhood. Remember back in the 70s, the brother was giving each other dab, brother, my brother. Now you don't see that much of that. They made us get to the point where we we frown when we see each other. We don't embrace each other.
Well, I would say, and where I was going with it is we stopped being creative. We
Ooh.
stopped being focused on, what's it, the eye on the prize, so to speak. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we had our eye on the prize, we understood what we were going against. But see, some people just got comfortable. Some people got comfortable. They got with the money, those type of things, and those are people they propelled in front. So
Oh,
once
they
they
made
got the
him a
money,
mayor. They made him a superintendent. They made him a sheriff.
yeah,
You're right.
a mayor,
Yeah.
president, yeah. So we were supposed to look at those, but a successful talk show host. So we were supposed, and then they made them so high and mighty, and they had to be all buttoned up. So there was no dancing, there was none of this real soulful stuff. So they put those things aside. But what I'm saying about the dance, the music, the renaissance of poetry, and all, it allowed us to communicate with each other without communicating because it
Wow.
put us on the same page. So in order to accomplish those things that Dr. Anderson is talking about, the economics, we have to be able to trust each other. We have to be able
Ooh.
to love and see each other on a higher plane. And in my opinion, you can't have success and sustainability as a people if you don't have trust. We got to remove the red tape. And the
Ooh.
best way for us to remove the red tape is through the natural, the music, dance, song, which brings about conversation, how we enjoy something, how we like to do it again. And as we congregate and we eat together, break bread, then plans come about. Unity is brought into the fold. Then the walls of friendship began to develop.
Mm.
So I'm just saying, when we get back to communicating and loving each other, but it's not going to be overnight, but let's look at the components, the formula that will help that out. The music, song, dance, getting together, breaking bread on a higher plane, then that forges revolution, in my opinion. So I think if we look at that, well, we got to do A first, we got to do B, we got put all that stuff aside. Let's bring out some music. Let's bring out some
Well,
old school.
that's the culture.
Yeah,
That's our
yeah,
culture.
yeah,
Once they take your culture, like you say, our arts, everything, because how they recently had a thing called Earth Day. Well, we do that naturally. We had one with the environment. We had one with each other. Those are things that we brought uh, to this planet, as a people. Now, over the years, a lot of that culture has been beaten out of us when it comes down to singing. People will tell, even amongst ourselves, we say, hey, all that singing and dancing ain't gonna get you nowhere, boy. You need to get an education. You need to work, get a job. All of that arts, where young Black people would create with their hands and express themselves through whether it be art. Recently I was going through an airport and I saw a lot of the stone masonry that Black people were doing. This was ways of expressing yourself, relieving yourself, putting your stuff out there so others could interpret it without somebody else being telling you how to interpret it. When they took our culture, and we're getting it back, we see people stealing it. Everything we do, our swag, whatever we do, they got to back it up and either try to take it or make it seem as though we're not doing anything. But our culture
they
is
can't
super
take
important.
it.
They can't take it.
They see that okay, and that's the premise. But with what you just said is the premise for the show. It's something that cannot be taken.
Ooh.
But that's why they try to control it. You see
Ooh,
the premise of the
yes.
show. So,
Yeah.
okay, the rhythm we have, the pop, 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 the energy, the move, that cannot be taken. That cannot be, but it can be controlled in a sense. So you can't have it all. You try to get some of it. And through the best of their ability is to control, but they can't own it.
Well, And that's a good comment. They said, Third Street, the goal is to capitalize on our creativity. Today, you got to have a degree to be respectable. And then when some of the best creatives don't have a degree or so-called document that they give you. I was recently looking at, I think Dr. Henry Clark, who was a great, when it comes down to African studies, uh, he came out of Alabama, I believe. But one of the things that he said, one day he was training or groups of people, talking to them, building creativity, building thoughts, free thinking. And then one of his students said, man, a lot of us have gone on and got master's degrees and PhDs. And Dr. Clark, you don't have that. He said, you need to get one. And he told his students to take out a piece of paper and write down there, Dr. Clark. And he, now it sounds kind of crazy, but he was basically saying he didn't need to be validated by some outside person in order to express themselves, to teach, or help his people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it boggles my mind when people tell me they're going to get certain degrees, and sometimes I pose the question, well, is there a particular reason why you? Well, I just want to I think maybe more money or something like that. But you've been in the field for maybe 10, 15 years or whatever. The possibility of a book, creating a speaker circuit, different events, 501c3s. But sometimes, I look at it and hey, I applaud people who do it. But if the purpose isn't to elevate yourself to a high level of, how can I say, understanding or breaking down certain mental barriers where you can just really benefit, and this is me, I guess, to benefit your community, what's the point? Is it a scare me tactic? Not me, but to scare them into just more blindness? Like, okay, I'm doing the proper things to get ahead, to be on par with society and life. It's just now some people, the more education they get, the damn dumber they become.
Say that again.
The more education they acquire, the damn dumber they become.
Ooh. Wow.
Like this superintendent that we have here in Atlanta.
Okay.
She tries to speak the King's English so well, but you can tell she's just incompetent, as it relates to speaking on the fly. And these are the type of people that they promote. She's got schools, which are historic, 93% worse than most schools in the state, in a metropolitan area, mind you. Now, she's supposed to be Dr. Heron. So people can research her. She was in Birmingham at one point, but they brought her here to close schools to help gentrify communities. And one of the schools she closed was one of the most impoverished areas of Thomasville Elementary in Atlanta. Yeah. To do that to those young people, to not give them some level of stability when their apartment complex was in disrepair. Basically, it was a slum.
Right.
So, again, I go to education. Is education of ignorance how it overrides common sense and a compassionate heart. I believe a compassionate heart and common sense will override education any day.
Bill Gates is just one example of success without college degrees. In fact, college is a warehouse for controlling thought and stifling genius and free thinking. Wow, that's deep. Because, that's an entrapment to use to control the people, right. And I just have to go at it like this. When you look at the modern day educational system here in America, or even around the world, it's most of the people that control all the companies, most of the economics, uh, uh, didn't go through all those different levels. You know, they knew who they were and what they were going to do when they was like 18, 19 years old or
Right.
whatever. They use that creativity. Now, we've got Black people that have done the same thing. We could look at a lot of our brothers and sisters, whether it's in athletics, or entertainment, or even creating ideas and inventions and things to help our people. But when somebody else takes you and puts you in a cubicle, you know, for 12 years, and then comes back and say, well, before you can come out here, we're going to put you in another cubicle for another 4 years. And we can put you in a position where we can put you in another cubicle where you're still, in order to make this money or get to a higher level that we think you should be at, you got to be in another cubicle. You'll find people. When I first came to Atlanta, I found people that had PhDs that were driving cab.
Yeah.
Because of the racial exploits here in Georgia, they were, I was like, you mean you got a doctorate, you driving the cab? But the guy said, I can't get a job. No job. Then nobody hired me. I've been in school. And the educational system can be a system that's used to hinder the growth of a community of people. Because, people say, well, we found out that many of our grandparents that had sometimes less than a second or third grade, they were dropping out of school in the 4th and 5th grade. Yet they acquired property, they acquired land, they educated their own children, and they had ownership. But today, most of our children, young people, are paying our student loans.
Well, I think it goes to, this thing called deductive reasoning.
Ooh.
When you get so much of that, like you're talking about, I'm gonna put you in this cubicle for 4 years, your deductive reasoning.
It gets milled down.
Yeah, I mean, or overloaded till you just deducting everything till you don't see any possibilities.
No. Wow. Well, it's just like if you caught a chicken, and you caught a chicken when it was first born, and you put it in a cubicle with pigs.
Yeah.
It would think it a pig. It would go around, oink, oink, all that type stuff. And if you put it in another cage for another 4 years, you didn't kill it or nothing like that, that chicken wouldn't even realize it was a chicken. This is in the animal population. Just imagine what happens when, say, a thought pattern like white supremacy is designed to control the actions and efforts of our creativity. These are things that are built in. And a lot of times people say, it's not, Drummer, there's no such thing as white supremacy, this and that. But when you look up and you say, well, who's trying to control my actions and efforts? They are built in mechanisms to control it. And you won't realize it until you realize it.
But you bring up a great point about the chicken and the pig. That's just pretty much, the black boy or girl in the white classroom, and people, and then they have this thing about, well, people want to make fun of me because I talk white or whatever. Now you just onking or clucking. Yeah, and then but you're losing your whole self-awareness. It's not about how you communicate, but when you communicate on a certain level that you're trying to be a part of a certain group, then other dynamics follow that. And people need to understand.
Nate and everybody, once you assimilate, then you really get frustrated when you find out that you was a chicken and you started acting like a cow, and you find out that wasn't enough. And then when you started acting like a pig, you find out that wasn't enough. And so a lot of our people need some type of mental rest because this system is so powerful. I've got people that say, well, drummer, I reached the top of my class and everything. And they still treat me as though uh, I hadn't made no accomplishments. Well, you kind of feel sorry for some of our people. They have identity problems
I
because
don't.
yeah. Oh, you don't feel sorry for no. Well, they've
Hell
been so
no.
indoctrinated. Well, you know what? See, they took away the whip. They took away. We don't have chains on us, but
Hey,
mentally, there are a lot of people that are still in that particular bondage where they don't see no way out. And when they get into a position, it's kind of like the Boondocks. If you ever seen the Boondocks, there was a situation where the brother had made it to the top. He was at the top of the company. They gave him the title of president when the company went bankrupt.
oh yeah.
And they was being sued by everybody. He didn't
Yeah.
enjoy the prosperity years with the company. They
Yeah.
just looked at him and said, "Hey, Dan, come here for a minute."
Yeah.
Everybody else was running out the back door. So Dan, guess what? You just been promoted to president in charge of the company. And they say that America is doing that. See, America is on its way out. And one of the things that it's doing in order to maintain as much as it can, you'll see it all the way around. You see these Karens, these Dans, these Duns, they coming out to try to maintain that last grip on Black people. But it's for a moot point because once this thing ends, it's not going to be something that we do. It's just an inevitable process where all empires must fall.
Well, and it's gonna fall in just trying to do what you mentioned about trying to control Black people.
Oh,
History is always history, and the outcome has always been on our side as relates to that type of thing. You look
ooh,
at
yeah.
the Middle Passage. You look at the slavery. We're survivors. You look at sharecropping, Reconstruction. You look at the 60s, the 70s, all these opportunities where they've tried to destroy us and put us in a bad situation. But they have to understand that we have a soul, even though they don't want to look at the entire picture, the overall essence we possess as a people. And see, that's their problem. When they look at this pothole of Blackness or what is it, a speed bump over here, and fail to look at the smooth road that we have been, well, we haven't been on a smooth road because of those elements that exist of oppression, racism. But just, okay, this conversation that we're having, two common sense brothers, experience. We got some gray under our chin. And I say, we know what the hell we talking about. But when you look at the essence of that exists within various communities that we exist in. And as a whole, we're dynamic people. Nothing can take that away. We're talented. We're energetic, dynamic, all those great things. And it can't be controlled. As much as they're killing themselves trying to control us.
Ooh, well, you know what? They'll go broke. They'll go without medical attention just so they can have one foothold of what they believe to be control. Recently, the guy that just shot the young brother through the door,
Right.
they say he was miserable. He was always sitting in the room, just feeding himself with hate and all this type stuff. And I think he paralyzed this young brother. But see, when we don't address that avenue of control, or we don't release it, it'll kill us. It'll take us to our grave because nobody's in position to control another human being. If God, the creator, giver of days, gave us free will, what makes other people, these Johnny come latelys, believe that they can control the free will of other people? It's not even in the universe to do that. So when they try to do it, they're gonna find much frustration. They're gonna find and they overlook any goodness that could happen. They're gonna miss a lot because trying to control us.
Well, you know, Richard, I say on that situation with the young man, that was a failure on us as a community,
Mm,
because I go back to the moral compass, right? It used to be that all, well, I just say racists would look at, okay, what's the moral compass of this race? Okay, what's their belief? What's their background? Of course, but when it came to us, it was always the church being on the right side of things, not
right.
going for this X, Y, Z. But again, when that's diminished and then it's non-existent, they see the foulness. So it's more like a attaboy. You good to have killed that nigger.
Mm,
Because, okay, what's out there? The images of young boys his age who are what is it? In the rap game, you hear these rappers coming up dead, they shooting up places. You get the cars spinning all around in the communities. They're all about the jewelry, the bling, murder. So if we don't have that moral compass that is visible, we leave these young people to be targets. And that's unfortunate.
well, and that's a good comment. They would try to publicly break a few. We've seen it where they try to break. Now we had some athletes like Ali, Kaepernick, that have stood up. Even Bill Russell. I always think about Bill Russell. They have stood up in the face of this beast and maintain their dignity. Uh, as a people, we can maintain our dignity once we understand or understand that people will try to control us because we are stronger beyond beyond measure. You know, when you look at the news, all the narratives that are being put out, I see so many of our young people doing so many great things, and you hate for a system to be put in place to try to diminish our progress. There are bodies of people that still are trying to hold on to that tradition, just like back when the Civil War ended. Their biggest problem was what are we gonna do with these black folk, and they
And
still it's not their responsibility to do anything with us.
well, you know, hey, again,
It's
hey,
God's people.
they had a great solution, but
Mm-hmm.
it was too beneficial to us. You
Oh,
know, that field order special 16, the 40 acres and a mule, they were given to us, but
right.
repealed by Andrew Johnson because he was a hater, as you can say.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
hater.
well, even when they did do something, they would often renege on what they did. Or even if they renege and in spite of what they did, we still were able to build, create, and sustain ourselves as a people. There were always some people that would just go out of their way to mentally believe that they were entitled to what we worked so hard to get. So we still have to fight every day to maintain our own self sufficiency, uh, and it's a mental game and it's a physical game.
Well, you know, I would say I focus on enjoying life when I wake up, but with the capability to fight and kick, you know what.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I'm aware. I know the truth. I understand. Hey, it's hard. Any light that we shine kills them 10 times over. Only thing we're missing is that component of self-unity. That's the thing that really breaks the back. When I talk about us communicating with each other through the rhythms, the dance, the music, that thing that makes us feel good, that unifies us to say, okay, let's do this again. Let's get together. Then we find out, hey, what are you into? What's your background? Oh, you into that too? Okay, hey, you know that the government is trying to do this too, and that's maybe somewhere down the road. But right now, those vehicles of communication, the vehicles of communication has to be open within us so that we can get through the red tape, get to know one another, and then talk about find common ground on what we stand on. And really, in my opinion, there's no more ground that's more common than the children and their future. When you have children that are not Let's come together for them, build, put our whatever ways aside, and make sure that they have a solid foundation so they're not talking about the same old stuff we're talking about.
Mm.
Yeah.
I got a question there, Nate. As and you just said something. I was trying to get it back. It came up on the screen. You may have to text it back to me. I got this other, and I'm scared to press the button because I didn't want to delete no nothing.
Let's see.
But I know you work in the area of education. That's one of the you know when you look at preparing and safeguarding our children, because the institutions, like you mentioned earlier, schools being closed on purpose to put create an environment where our children would have to be taken out of the community and wouldn't have a local school. But what are some of the efforts you're doing out there in as far as education and fighting for our young people daily?
Well, of course, the name of the game is, I'm going to just say population, the white population's mortality rate, I think is an issue. And with this Ukrainian war, all those components, how they're trying to bring them over, there's something about all of that. But then this constant effort of closing Black schools, and then you see billions of dollars of development in an area. But yet they use present day statistics on Black schools to say, okay, they're not populated. But they use future projections on white schools to say that they are overcrowded. And that's something that we have to really hone in on, because you should use future, if they were using future projections on Black schools with the development coming into those areas, there should be no conversation about school closures. And then to say that the schools are low performing, and that's a justification to close. You should open educational opportunities if a school is not performing up to par, right?
Right.
Regardless of the race of the child. But it's always closure for Black boys and girls. So how does displacement and moving them around? Now, let me hit on this clown mayor that we got here in Atlanta. Mayor Dickens. That is the biggest clown. He wants to call it the year of the child. Okay. Well, children have parents, fool. Children have parents who need stable homes, stable housing. He uprooted all of the people in this Thomasville situation, just really gets in my craw, and just showcases just the level of buffoonery that these people are on. So we can talk about white supremacy, but this is how these fools help support it, all right? These young people going to school at Thomasville Elementary on a daily basis, regardless of what's going on in their communities. Gunshot, seeing people killed, maybe no food in the household, just say worst case scenario. But they're resilient young people. At least allow the school to stay open. This fool Dickens, along with the other clown, what's that boy's name? Used to be school board president. Courtney English. Glad I remember that. He's in the cabinet. Had those people moved and displaced, and now here we are, maybe a year removed, and the people still having a hard time finding places. But yet, less than a mile from they resided, you have structures, new construction of apartments. I mean, high-end apartments, but yet they say they can't find any housing. Got these people moving out into Noonan, areas outside of 285, but yet right down the road, new construction, apartment complexes. Wow. So, I mean, white supremacy is but it's a mindset that people like them, who's supposed to look like us, they buy into and they support, And I'll say they're not Black people at all.
Well, all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Oh, no. You see, Black people don't jump up and down for white supremacy, but people like them do. And they want to use, this guy wants to use the year of the child. Well, fool, children are having a rough time in your year.
They catching hell.
They're catching hell. but he wants to have a midnight basketball. He want to have snow cones, and then the groups that he's supposed to have partner with him are the main people doing the destruction and development in the community.
Well, again, controlling the actions and efforts of Black people. Well, we'll give them contact information, if you will, Brother Nate. People can contact you, and you can find out about your efforts.
Okay, yeah. My name is Nathaniel Dyer. I have a youth organization called kidsfirst.pro. I do post some, that's kidsfirst.pro. I have a website that I keep my propaganda stuff on. It's called unnigged.com, UNNIGGED.com. That's UNNIGGED.com, unnigged. And that's basically shutting down ignorance. And yeah, those some of the information that you can reach me on. Yeah, Nate at kidsfirst.pro.
Thank you, brother. We got to come back for part 2. We always focusing on some things that can help people in general to survive. We are, whether you know it or not, we are at war. And that's one of the acronyms that we use over here. We are ready, but we are at war, and we must fight. Ronald Reagan said, freedom ain't free. Freedom ain't free. Freedom ain't free. Just because if they give you something, they can always take it back. If they give you something, they can always take it back. So we have to fight. And we are capable of fighting at a higher vibration. Sometimes it's not a physical fist fight. It's a higher vibrational fight. Once our people, we've done it before. Most of the stuff that we came out of because we were able to communicate with each other on a different level, a different vibration. We were able to move people without moving or firing an arm or a weapon, whether it be in Haiti, Ethiopia, and even beyond that. But those are things that we have to do. We never give up hope. And those are the things that can help us. I like to thank everybody that joined us over on Facebook and Instagram. They wouldn't let me push the little button to get people in without disconnecting. But I want you to like, share, and subscribe over here to our YouTube channel, Square Mile Media Atlanta. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and have this conversation with your family members. We got to have more conversations where we can help our family members, because a lot of times we get frustrated when we find out or we don't think we can win. But guess what? We do win in the end. This is Reginal Drummer, the peopleologist, and I love you like God loves the world. And man, God must really love this little blue dot called Earth, because he keeps us around, and it's sustaining us at a higher vibration. So take care, be safe, and let's make it a great day. And stay ready at all times. At all times, stay ready.